What is up, guys? Eric here from Real Film Reviews, bringing you another movie review, this time for the new Casey Affleck film, 999. 999 is the story of professional bank robbers / robbers in general who get mixed up with the Jewish-Russian mob and then get mixed in with dirty cops, and honestly this movie has a very Departed aspect-y where it's super convoluted and there's a lot of different storylines going on, so I don't want to spoil anything, but that's as simple as I can make it. Now 999 I was very excited to see in theaters, mostly because of the cast. The cast for this film is kind of insane. It's Kate Winslet, Casey Affleck, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Anthony Mackie, there's just a bunch of people, Woody Harrelson. I'll put it up on the screen right now of the promo with all of them, but this movie is full of famous people, and it's a lot of people that are really good in supporting roles, which got me very excited for this film, since it is very much an ensemble film like The Departed. And granted, this movie is not as good as The Departed or The Town or a movie like that, but this movie was very enjoyable. The first thing I want to point out, obviously, is the cast. This movie has an amazing cast, and honestly, the two people I want to pick out in particular are Casey Affleck, who gives a very nuanced, small performance in this film as just a simple husband who happens to be a police officer, and also Anthony Mackie, who I feel gives his best performance since The Hurt Locker in this film. He's really good as this cop who's kind of like caught in the middle of a situation that he doesn't know what to do in, and I really enjoyed the two of them, especially since they're partners in the film. I loved their interactions with each other and everything that they do throughout the film, along with the rest of the cast, who no one gives a bad performance in this whole movie. This movie was very suspenseful, and I think a lot of that goes to the premise of the film, and that is really one of the pros to this film, is it's based around an idea of something that I've never seen a movie or a film about robberies or criminals or anything like that take, which is the idea of killing a police officer, which is what a 999 is code word for in probably real life, but at least in the film, and doing that to distract every police officer from the robbery you will commit. It also lends to a very suspenseful second act of the film, which I think is by far the highlight of this movie, because it's extremely suspenseful and there's tons of action going on during that act. The direction of this movie was actually pretty solid, coming from John Hillcoat, who has done Lawless recently as his most recent film, which I actually enjoyed Lawless quite a bit, and I think he does a pretty good job with this movie. The action sequences are filmed well. There's one in particular raid sequence that was extremely suspenseful and I thought was handled perfectly, and all of the shootouts look realistic. Now, although the concept of this movie is very interesting to me, I will say I think some of the writing lended itself to attempt to be more convoluted than it needed to be. I felt that they were maybe one or two more characters than was really necessary, and they were pretty much there just to add an extra layer of confusion to the story. I personally could have done without them. I can understand why they were put there, though I think a easier route would have been to avoid hiring those actors and just make a much simpler backstory for these characters. Also, being as this movie feels very similar to films like The Departed and The Town, there are moments where I think it is supposed to be shocking, but instead it's rather predictable what's about to happen, because this movie lends to be like those other films. Even though it does have a much different premise overall, I think that those moments are less suspenseful and less surprising when they happen, because of the fact that this movie has a very big influence from those other films that have been made in the past. Now, none of those are very big things wrong with this film. They're all very small aspects of the story that I felt were only really hurt because of small writing errors or small errors in terms of homages to other films. But really the big issue with it, for me, with this film is the ending. The ending of this movie drags on for longer than I feel it needs to, and I also feel like the last shot, I won't say what anything that's happening in the ending is or anything like that because I don't want to spoil it, but the final shot of this film is kind of awful. I don't think whoever was in the editing room had any idea what they were doing when they decided to choose that to be the final shot. I think it was a terrible way to end the film, honestly, because it gives you very little closure, which I don't need closure, but the situation that the final shot takes place in is a moment where you do need that closure, and it just sort of freeze frames and cuts to credits, and I did not understand that decision, and I felt that it kind of ruined the ending of the film for me. I'm gonna give 999 a B. This movie was a pretty solid cop drama, and if you're in the mood to see something with some solid action sequences and a phenomenal cast, go check out 999. It's nowhere near as good as the movies that it is similar to, such as The Town and The Departed, though it still was a very solid film with a really good cast. Well guys, as always, I'm Eric. If you enjoyed this review, please do like, subscribe, comment down below what you thought of 999, and share everything we do here on Real Film Reviews, and I hope to see you guys later.